citizen. I am an escapee. I am Clancy.
Diese kleine unheimliche Insel hat mich zu einer Waffe gemacht. Wir glauben beide,
Welcome back to Trent.
Over the years, I've come to appreciate more and more things about life. Nature, food, and especially music. The stuff that I've listened to over the past half of a decade has varied a ton. One band that I have already covered on this channel is 21 Pilots, a two-man band from Columbus, Ohio, who has changed my life in a pretty significant way, but we'll get to that later. Their new album, Clancy, just came out, and I am here to break it down, give my thoughts, and overall reflect on what their music means to me and how it impacts me to this very day. The first track on the album is titled Overcompensate. It's a really good introduction song. It builds the tension in the beginning before becoming this big orchestral moment, almost industrial, and it samples their own song from Trench called Bandito. It slows down halfway through for the rapping and chorus part. It's a pretty good, energetic song to start off the entire album. Now, this is the part where I have to kind of focus in on the lore of this song, because there is lore to this band, believe it or not. Basically, the last 4 albums at this point have been telling the story of Clancy, this guy who's he's kind of like in this prison type area called Dima. It's a city which is basically founded on the idea of vialism, a made-up religion where self-sabotage is the only way to find paradise. He realizes that the city that he was born in and has stayed his entire life is a lie, and that he has to escape with a group called the Banditos, which is basically a grassroots rebellion that is fighting against Dima, and the people that control Dima are known as bishops, one of them being Blurryface. Yes, the guy from that album in 2015. And throughout this 9-year-long story, Clancy and the Banditos have been trying to fight against these bishops in whichever way they can. But it has been sort of a losing battle according to the last album cycle, which was Scaled and Icy. And Clancy happens to be the anti, as it picks up where their other album, Trench, left off. And the first few notes that you hear in the beginning of this track is actually the last few notes that you hear at the ending of Trench on the last song, Leave the City. The attention to detail on this track is just insane, and I really commend Tyler and Josh for being able to fit all of this lore in one song and make it as catchy as it is. The second track is titled Next Semester, which to me kind of sounds really heavily Green Day pop punk inspired track. It talks about depression and a crazy panic attack that Tyler had while in college. This song kind of hits hard in a emotional and personal kind of way. I won't get into it, but I'm happy that Tyler put this song in here. The next track is titled Backslide, which is a song about repeating a cycle between depression and non-depression. There are multiple references to cycles in 21 Pilots' own songs before this. The music video for this actually calls back to the original Stressed Out music video, which released back in 2015. It's a pretty basic kind of structure in the first part of the song, but the chorus part is where the energy actually gets picked up more, in my opinion. The producer Paul Meany, who also worked on their other album Trench, was heavily involved in the making of this song and produced a lot of other tracks on this album. Midwest Indigo is the 4th track on this album, and it is sort of a different kind of tone compared to the other tracks before it. It has kind of a synthwave aesthetic to it, and it's mostly just talking about Tyler and Josh's hometown in Ohio. This is a personal favorite of mine. In the lyrics, Tyler talks about how he wants to run away to somewhere sunny and full of warmth and love, unlike the place he grew up in. And some have compared that to a broken relationship as a metaphor of the seasons changing. On the other hand, Routines in the Night, the 5th track, is just a really good pop song, explaining about reoccurring things happening late at night, almost like a relapse of some sort. The music video that went along with this could be related to the storyline. Speaking of which, 21 Pilots decided to make 14 music videos for all of their songs on the album. Most of them, they said that they just took a camera and went out to film some stuff, but others actually had high quality production such as Overcompensate and the 9th track, Navigating. As of recording right now, the 13th track, Paladin Straight, hasn't had an official music video yet. Anyways, the 6th track, Vignette, has a really good instrumental, almost orchestral, and it talks about fighting off this vignette, which could be about depression or something else, but it is one of my favorites off of the album. There's not really a lot else to say about it. It does have a really catchy hook, and one of the best choruses on the album. The momentum kind of stops halfway through the track list with The Craving, Jenna's version. It's an acoustic version of the single that came out 2 days before the actual album. On the song, Tyler talks about him and his wife's relationship, while also talking about the previous album, Scale and Icy, which was the least well-received album in their catalog up to that point. In the music video, they symbolize this by creating this sort of gem-like shotgun shell, I think. And when they show it off in the actual competition, the shotgun shell becomes ineffective and they are therefore kicked from the competition. It shows how some people don't really appreciate how much time and effort it takes to make something, and how it can upset or frustrate the creator who is just trying to make an impact on something that they like. And that's probably my favorite aspect about this track. There happens to be a weird shift in tone halfway through this album, starting with the 8th track, Lavish, which is kind of a goofy, dumb little song that sounds like a mix of Madlib and AJR production. Tyler said in an interview that he specifically put this in the track list so that they wouldn't have to be put in a box, kind of. Some people have said that it's supposed to have the meaning of like being in the music industry and having all of these fancy things and stuff. I don't personally agree with this theory. I think it's just kind of there just to be there, but it's whatever you think. Also, some of the lyrics are a little questionable, to say the least. The storyline gets picked up back again in the music video for this track, Navigating. It sounds like a British rock era type song that you would hear in like the 70s or 80s. The guitars on this one go absolutely crazy. The bridge is one of my favorite parts of the entire album and kind of has a callback to Trench. At the end of the Overcompensate music video, Clancy is able to possess somebody and tell the citizens of this fictional world, Dima, that he is coming back and they're going to take down the evil bishops and that he needs their help to help fight them. Then in this music video, he's basically navigating this entire forest to try to get back to Trench so that he can meet up with his group of freedom fighter guerrilla type people called Banditos. And yeah, it's a pretty cool, well-produced music video that kind of ties into a little bit of the music video of My Blood, an older track. And yeah, track 10 is titled Snapback and is probably kind of a scary one to me. Not in the sense of it terrifying me, but more the relatability to it, especially for me at this point in time. It's the most wintry sounding song on the entire album, and it uses the same concept as Backslide, but it explores a little bit more in my opinion. It explores Tyler's psyche, not just as the character of Clancy, but also as his actual self in real life. It's one of my personal favorites on the entire album. I don't really want to spoil anything about it, so you can listen to it during your own time. Going to the final quarter of this album, we have Oldie Station, which is probably my least favorite song on the track list. The lyrics are really interesting, but the second half really brings the song to kind of a boring halt. This song was made specifically for the fans, with the lyrics telling them to push on through whatever they're going through, so that they can, in the long run, listen to more 21 Pilots. And music in general, I guess. The whole instrumental just seems kind of flat and uninteresting, and it seems to really go nowhere in my opinion. Now this might be in contention to be my favorite song on the album. This is probably the most energetic rock song on the album. The lyrics are kind of dark, but are also kind of happy with the motif of you checking in with your friends once in a while. This would probably fit very well on Trench or Blurry Face. And the song kind of reminds me of something Linkin Park or Bring Me the Horizon would do. Possibly a little deluxe track to one of their albums, probably. And yeah, it's just a really fun song. And now we come to the very last song of the album, Paladin Straight. I'm going to be diving more into the lyrics here than the actual song, so bear with me. Clancy talks about wanting to cross the Paladin Strait, aka the ocean that divides Trench from the rest of the entire world. It's very hard and difficult to go through, almost as a metaphor for going through the tough times of life and finding something to live for. However though, the chorus ends halfway through the song, and there's just a minute of nature sounds. Some have said that it's a callback to one of the lyrics in their old albums, sort of like a cycle. Then after about a minute, a ukulele starts playing. And Clancy sings about winning the battle against the bishops, finding Nico, aka Blurryface, and saying that he's past the point of no return. There is something that is so captivating with the way this band tells its story. Across 9 years, 4 albums, a bunch of music videos, and multiple lines of lyrics, letters, and web pages, Tyler Joseph and Josh Dunn have been able to take the darkest parts of their mind and use it as a way to cope and deal with these emotions, both in a literal and metaphorical way. These two random dudes from Ohio have changed my life because they are the ones that saved it. I am eternally grateful for what they have put forward in both their music and their message. These past few years have been very interesting for me, but overall it's been really positive. And I hope someday that you too, if you are struggling, find a way to cross that Paladin Strait, whatever that may be. They are 21 Pilots.